Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are having a great day so far. So I'm super excited because the Celestial Divinity palette from Pat McGrath just arrived through my door. So I wanted to hop on here and give you guys a couple of looks and my first impressions on this palette. So the packaging I absolutely love. I think it's beautiful. I know it's not as special as her black Mothership packaging, but that we know is whole other price bracket. And my initial impressions on swatching all of these shades is that everything feels super beautiful and smooth, like so smooth, so much pigmentation. Everything felt really creamy to apply, and literally one little swirl of my finger and that's the colour payoff that we were getting with these shadows. Every single one of these was like a wow shadow. It just, I mean, there's not a dud swatch here. Everything is creamy, everything is opaque, full coverage, full glam, beautiful, stunning shades. So without further ado, let's get into the tutorial of these two eyeshadow looks. One super pink, one more greeny tones, and let's see how we get on. This mirror is such a good size. I love it. I know lots of people were disappointed with this packaging, but I really like it. It feels solid and substantial. I love that the mirror has these little ribbons so it will stand up on your vanity by yourself, and it's a really decent size. I know it's not that like expensive beveled shape, but it's a really good size to do your makeup in. It's very, very useful. I'm gonna start off with the pink down here, I think. Whew. Tap these off. There was a fair amount of kick up there, and these are definitely like a touch your brush in rather than swirl, which is what we're used to with Pat McGrath. No issues with pigment here. So this is a Bristol's E01 DL. I'm just gonna build that colour up a little in the crease. Just a really beautiful, soft first matte shade, really. Okay, and then we use my same brush and use the deepest matte on the top. Whoa, look how much pigment this brush is picking that pigment up. But you know, these mattes, they blend so well that it's not really a problem if you kind of lay too much down initially, because it's just going to be an absolute breeze to blend it out. You're not going to have any issues. Like, this is so quick, and I definitely put too much product down, but I'm not getting fallout. I'm not having issues blending it out, even though I was too heavy-handed. I'm not using a sticky primer. My eyes are just primed with concealer and powder, so you know, you can get even more payoff and a more adhesive base with using a primer, but being that I am like an amateur, I find it easier to blend into a set powdered eye. So I'm going to use that same shade but a flatter brush. This is my 01 from Refa, and that's just going to give us some more depth and a bit more focus in this outer V. This matte formula, just live for it. It's so nice. It's just so easy. So easy. If like me, you know, you don't have a huge amount of skill, you're not a professional, you know, you just want your life to be easy and get a nice eyeshadow look without stress, this formula it's to die for. I mean, I could pick like any shimmer on here. I'm really spoilt for choice, but this shade here is calling my name, this purple. It's like me. It's a bit of me. This is like crumbling. Oh, there's gonna be like, I feel like you'd be better off using a damp brush. This brush is my MAC 242. I'm just using it dry because I just want to see what's going to happen. The shadow, it's kind of a bit crumbly, like you can see it's kind of crumbling a little bit. So yeah, it would be one that's probably going to be less messy using a finger or a damp brush, because it has got that kind of crumblier formula. Just seeing how it applies with a brush. I mean, I'm not actually, haven't got any fallout, but I'm not getting like the huge mega Pat McGrath kind of pigment payoff. You see on my finger there how it's picking it up in that crumbly way, and you can see how much more impact you get with a finger. And I know Pat recommends you use a finger with this formula. Oh, that's pretty. Definitely a fair amount of fallout now. That is quite a crumbly formula. I'm going to dust that off. It dusted away super easy, so that's good. So now I'm going to use this like sort of duochrome pink shade here. It's kind of, I don't know if you can see on camera, but it's kind of shifting from like pink to gold in person, depending on the light. And I've just slightly dampened my MAC 242 on my wipe just to make sure we get some adhesion. Oh wow, that's pretty. Wow, that's so pretty. These are like my shades. They're my shades. I'm going to go back into the brown, the reddish brown matte, and just kind of blend a little bit my edges. I just love it. I just love these types of shades. And then I'm going to use my Bristles Beauty pencil brush and that same reddish brown shade from the top row, and I'm just going to run this under my lower lash line. And then my Bristles Peau 6 RF, and I'm going to use this like goldy shade up here for my inner corners. This brush is dry. Hoo, 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 hoo. Okay. These like metallics in here, like what? They aren't messing around. I'd say that these formulas, they're all probably best applied with a damp brush or with a finger to get like the maximum payoff, because they are that type of formula that you might get a bit of a better application with that method than like dry brushes. Oh, that's no complaints so far from me. So on the other side, I'm going to start with the reddish brown and see if we can get a bit of a, oh, look at that. Look at that. I want to see if we can get a kind of more natural, like every like daytime look out of this eye. I've got to go on the school run in a minute. I'm going to look a little strange. Let's say that. I do wish this palette had a sort of more muted matte brown, like so you could make it a more wearable daytime, some wearable daytime looks. But actually, having tried like all of these shades and swatched them and seen them in person, that's definitely not what Pat was going for at all. She's definitely not been trying to make this like a really versatile, every occasion daytime type of palette. Like, this is a night out, full glam, go ape type of palette, isn't it? It's definitely not, she's not trying to cater for the office. Let's just say that. So you can definitely get like a bit of a muted application with that reddish brown, you know, it's just sort of as light a hand as you can manage, and just keep on blending, and actually you can get a pretty muted, softer look out of it. I was going to try and do a sort of daytime friendly look, but I don't even know how I'm going to manage. I don't even know how. I don't know how. I'm going to build this up slightly. I guess maybe just a slightly less colourful look we'll aim for instead. She says as she's, what am I doing? Yeah, I think for me this is like a full-blown glam only type of palette. It's certainly not going to be like a one and done, reach for this palette situation. This is going to be like, I'm going out, it's New Year's Eve, I'm going nuts, I've got a Halloween Zoom call, like I want everyone to see my eyeshadow. This is what I'm talking about with this palette. So I've got to try these greens. I've got to. I'm going to try the deeper green first in the center of my lid. That is definitely not like the crumbly formula. It's a more easy to use with a drier brush. Like that's going on, no fallout, no nothing. I've just realised I said I was going to do a less colourful look and then I went straight into the greens. Never mind it. And then I'm going to go over to this kind of shifting shade over here that looks like green to me, but in the camera it just looks gold. Oh, that's pretty. Oh, that's pretty. Yeah, it's just kind of looking greener. I wonder if that's coming across. To me it looks green. What colour does it look to you guys? Is it gold or is it green? Who can tell? Oh, I love greens like this. And you could actually brighten that up using that gold shade there that we used just right on the corner. Love that for us. Very, very nice. Yep, definitely going to look a little odd on the school run today. What's new? I think really there's not like a shade in here that I would generally use on my brow bone. Like obviously I used this one in the first look, but I think the rest of them, they're just too much. Like for me, I generally use like a satin on my brow bone, but I think that one that I used in the first look is probably the only one that's like a possibility up there, even though it's super glittery as far as it being a shade that I would tend to go for on my brow bone. I'd go for like more of a satin, but yeah. Wow, I feel special. I feel pretty glam right now. Okay, so my thoughts on this palette. One, you really can't get like daytime soft glam looks out of this palette, or maybe you can get like one, maybe if you use this shade super lightly and maybe like a little bit of this one as a wash on the lid. But yeah, it's definitely not intended for that purpose. It's not a very versatile palette in that way for like my lifestyle, I guess you would say. So it does this incredibly beautifully with so many options for colours and tones. You've got pinks, you've got purples, you've got greens, you've got golds, you've got lilacs, you've got reds, you've got everything you could want as far as like a full glam, stunning, glorious, over the top eyeshadow look. But that's really it. There's not enough mattes or softer shades of shimmer to really have like a few options for daytime, softer, more natural, subtle looks. That's not what it's intended for. It's definitely for me like an all-in, all or nothing type of palette, which, you know, there's no shame in that game. I really enjoyed playing with it. And although I've only used 7 or 8 of the shades, about half of the palette so far, I have swatched all of them and they all feel just so beautiful and creamy that I don't think we're going to have any duds in this palette. As you noticed when I was using this shade, it's got a sort of more crumbly texture to it, which is going to be better applied with a finger because it is that really richly pigmented shimmer shadow that would either be better with a finger or a damp brush that we're more used to. But then there are a few of those. I think this is probably one, this is probably one, and the rest of that smoother, more softer metallic formula. But again, you can't really go wrong. There was only a tiny bit of fallout when I used with my finger and it was very easily brushed away. I love Pat McGrath shadows. I don't really ever have any complaints as far as the formula and the performance of them. I think they're stunning. I'm really happy with the 2 looks that I did. With this size of palette, I wish it was more versatile. Personally, I would have liked a few more neutral mattes and maybe a few more options as far as some lighter, more everyday shimmers, just so you get the most out of the palette. But at the same time, at the price point, to have this many options, I think is a great move for Pat McGrath, and I really hope she comes out with another palette like this that's maybe a bit more daytime, but at the same time that's not really her thing, is it? Mother, she is all about the all-in super glam, isn't she? I really like this palette. It's so fun to play with, and it's really like nothing else I have, certainly not with that size and with her formula. Like the shades that I tried are absolutely like her amazing formula, and I saw this palette got a very high score on Temptalia and really no duds to speak of, which is a very, very good sign. If you follow Temptalia's blog, you'll know that that is a really good score for such a large palette. It's really nice to see that it is actually Pat's, you know, supreme formula in there. So if you own this palette, please let me know how you're getting on with it in the comments section down below, and let me know if you disagree and you think this is a perfect everyday palette, because guess what? That's allowed. Makeup is so subjective, and I know everybody's idea of daytime versus nighttime versus glam is totally different. So this is just for me and my kind of makeup style, if you like. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, and I'd love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.